Good morning, Leafs Nation. This is the Leafs Convo podcast for August 11th, 2019. I'm your host, Norman James, coming to you from London, Ontario, Canada, joined as always by my podcast partner in crime, the one and only Michael Piagello from Cheektowaga, New York, USA. Good morning, Michael.
Good morning, Norman. How are you?
That sounded like Han Solo in Star Wars when, they're stuck in that little area and they've got to talk to the stormtroopers. You remember that one when they're wearing the stormtrooper costumes and they're going to go hi?
Vaguely.
Yeah, I don't know if any of the OGs remembers that. Rough start to the show, Mike. Thank you very much.
Sorry
No,
about
that's
that.
okay. Hope all is well in Jello land.
Well, I'm trying to recover from that painful Yankees performance in Toronto yesterday. It seems during the summer the only thing I go up to Toronto for is concerts or to watch the Yankees lose to the underachieving Blue Jays. Although Vladimir Guerrero Jr. hit a missile to left field that almost went through the wall for a single. It was like a 330-foot single, and there's some impressive young hitters, but boy, does that pitching staff need a lot of work.
Yeah, and it will be worked on, Mike. The Jays are en route. They should be in pretty good position to at least nip at a playoff spot. And the Yankees almost, 35 games over 500. With that lineup, I couldn't name one of them. I mean, but it's just a testament to the job that Mr. Cashman and that organization are doing. The Bronx Bombers, baby. Mike, you come up here just to use us for our entertainment and our culture and our restaurants, and then you peel back to Western New York? What the hell's going on with you, man? What are you, a tourist?
I'm as Canadian as an American.
I know you are. We love to have you. Michael, what is going on with the Maple Leafs right now that we can talk about? This is supposed to be the Sunday Spectacular, maybe the Craptacular, but I've heard some crap thrown, or I've seen some crap, or I've watched some crap being thrown out there about Mitch Marner and the Islanders and an offer sheet. Come on, man. Let's just get over this nonsense. We saw with the Sebastian Aho thing, it never works.
Well, and the thing is, I mean, and you can tell it's the middle of August when an unsubstantiated report from somebody who does not have a check mark on Twitter, who doesn't work for, a established media outlet, is reporting a $13 million 7-year offer sheet to Marner, and then people comment on it. Until I see it from a Chris Johnston or an Elliot Friedman or McKenzie or LeBrun, I'm not going to believe it. And based on the conversations that I've had with, people like Kevin Allen from USA Today, who I do a webcast with once a week, he's basically saying that there's no movement on the RFA situations right now, that offer sheets, if the Aho example is very good in terms of that was a joke of an offer sheet that Carolina matched in about 3 seconds. And that if somebody does that to Marner, meaning, a sort of a 5-year offer for a lower amount, the Leafs will respond very quickly. But it probably won't happen because the Marner camp will not sign an offer sheet unless it's giving them a certain amount for a certain amount of years. And I don't think they're signing anywhere for 7 years. And if it's a shorter deal, then I think the Leafs will match. So I don't think it's going down this road. And from what Kevin said during the week, he said that there are some players that are going to go into the season, that this is going to be an impasse with certain players. Not saying Marner, but there's a whole bunch of really talented restricted free agents out there, and they're all looking for big money. And they may have to push it into the regular season to get the money they think they deserve.
This is the Leafs Convo podcast. The whole idea and process of offer sheeting seems more problematic than constructive. Is there any way to change the rules so that an offer sheet has the chance of being realistic and making the idea and the concept and the potential result exciting?
Not until the CBA is renegotiated, which I believe it's coming up in 21-22. That's why you see a whole bunch of players getting front-loaded or heavily bonus-laden contracts in those years, because on July 1st they get most of their money, and then if there is a lockout, that they'll be able to survive through till whenever it gets done. I'm hoping that that's not the case and there's not going to be a lockout, but there definitely are hills to die on when it comes to certain situations. I'm sure that some players out there want an offer sheet scenario where the penalty is not as punitive as 4 first-round picks. But because any team, like, for example, Columbus, which happened last month, if they were realistically interested in a Marner deal where they're giving up 4 first-round picks if Toronto doesn't match, they want him for 7 years. And the Marner camp clearly is interested in a shorter-term deal that either gets them to just near free agency at age 26 or maybe a year later so he can hit it at 27. They don't want a long 7-year deal because they want to hit the money again when he's in his mid-20s. And I don't blame them for that, but you have to give up something to get something. And that's where I think the problem is with Darren Ferris and the Marner camp right now, because they want their cake and they want to eat it too. They want the money they would get on a 7 or 8 year deal from Toronto, but they want it for 3 years. And you're not going to get that. So that's where I think the impasse is going to be. I think it's going to last maybe till training camp, maybe to the beginning of the regular season. But I don't think Marner wants to hold out into the season. He saw what happened with Nylander, and I don't think he wants to repeat that.
We can expect scenarios to unfurl at some point over the next few months. Darren Ferris, for as much as we go on about the guy, he's a smart guy. He wouldn't be in business if his clientele didn't think he could get results for them. Where do you think he thinks this ends up?
Well, based on his previous track record, and I think I mentioned it on the last Convo, he had a couple guys in Andreas Athanasiou with Detroit and Josh Anderson with Columbus that they held out through training camp. Athanasiou actually held out into the regular season. I think he signed in late October. And when in the end, when those deals got done, he didn't get what he was looking for. I don't even think he got close to what he was looking for. Tennessee got, I think, a $1.3 million contract and a 1-year deal. Anderson got a 3-year deal for under $2 million. They were looking for more than that. They were looking for long-term deals in each instance. And Tennessee ended up getting a bigger contract the following year after he had another good season. And I realize Marner is a different kettle of fish. He's a leading scorer, one of the top scorers in the league, led the Leafs 2 years in a row. So he deserves to be paid. I don't think anybody is saying that he doesn't. It's just a question of, does he deserve to be paid as much as Austin Matthews and on a short-term deal? And that's where I think the Leafs and him are sort of divided. And I think it'll eventually get done in terms of a deal, but it's going to take a while, and it's going to take some negotiation from Kyle Dubas.
Geez, Ferris representing these former Knights, Anderson, Athanasiou, Marner. Is everyone a former London Knight? Like, I'm trying to forget the past, and there it is confronting me every single time we do a podcast. Michael, I mean, what do the Leafs have enough money for? I mean, how much can they spend in this scenario? And Ferris has to understand where the Leafs' constraints are when it comes to budget. Like, what is he expecting them to do? I mean, is this all about, again, the little man syndrome, wanting what he thinks he should get when lined up with the big names in the league?
Here's the thing about this report that I believe is the main reason why it's erroneous. I don't think Mitch Marner wants to leave Toronto. And if he's offered a offer sheet at $13 million for 7 years, the Leafs are not matching it. Because the upheaval it would cause would be, I mean, they would almost immediately have to trade somebody to clear the cap space. If they can squeeze it in for a year, there will definitely be somebody who will have to be traded next summer. And I think they, in that instance, the Leafs want to be able to slot Marner in for an amount where it doesn't make them do something, but they have the options of what to do. If they have to sign him for $13 million, he's making more than Matthews. He's making more than Tavares, and it destroys their salary structure. He is not a $13 million player. He's a great player. There's no bigger appreciator of Mitch Marner's game than myself. But he is not the highest paid player in the NHL. And if Darren Ferris is shooting for that, and if this report is, and here's the other reason I think it's completely erroneous. Lou Lamoriello is the general manager in Long Island. Do you really think he's signing an offer sheet for $13 million a year? No,
where were they getting that money? How would
Yeah.
Mike, how would Mitch Marner signing that offer sheet for an outrageous amount of money, how would that benefit the Islanders other than saying, hey, we stuck it to the Maple Leafs, they took Tavares, we took Marner? Honestly, is Marner joining the Islanders for a ridiculous amount of money that is going to hamstring the organization for years to come, going to ultimately get them a Stanley Cup within a short period of time? No, it'll win the the emotional Leafs suck award because we stuck it to them.
If it's for real, and again, I stress,
Yeah, you're
I
right.
don't believe it is, right? I would say this: get ready, Islanders, for someone, maybe Toronto, maybe somebody else, to offer sheet Matthew Barzal next summer, because he'll be coming up on his ELC, and somebody, if they sign Marner for that and make him the highest paid player in the NHL, and they're up against the cap, then they will be in the same position as the Maple Leafs are this summer without the financial resources that the Leafs have. I don't see them trading for David Clarkson and, basically eating $5 million in salary to be able to slot Marner in. They won't be able to do that. Their ownership right now is penny pinching until they get a new building built. Mm-hmm. So if they want to go down that road, the NHL is full of general managers who are sharks. And they'll see blood in the water if they sign Marner and then Barzal's out there as a restricted free agent. They will give him $10 million or more, and they will not be able to match.
We're just throwing this out there because it is August 11th. A good month and a bit until we get into some nitty gritty type hockey that we can really sink our teeth into. The whole idea of a organization like the Islanders spending stupid money on anybody, this impasse or this situation between Marner and the Leafs right now, it's like a couple having a long protracted squabble or fight or disagreement where things have gone cold. There's little talk going on. The end game is reconciliation. That could happen a lot sooner, but because of pride and the lack of swallowing it, it just goes on and on and on. Look, it's not like the Leafs are going to be able to dig up a shitload more money and pay this cat. It doesn't seem like they're going to ship out number 88 to free up room so that they can make Mitch Marner the highest paid guy in the league. Marner is not going to want to go anywhere else, really. I know the dad probably would like to see him go somewhere else, but I have a feeling both parties know where this is going to end up. Let's just get there and get this damn thing over with, and Mitch, you can go make your big dollars in a few years' time. It's frustrating to watch, but I guess it's just part of what they want to do.
The only thing I can say is that I think that the reason that this is going to go to the 11th hour is because Ferris, and I think probably most agents out there, see what happened with Nylander, see what happened with Matthews, and say, okay, I can get big money too. That Dubas will fold, or Dubas will feel the pressure and will give me what I want. And the thing is, I think Dubas is in the position now where I've heard from many people who said the reason that he went and gave Nylander the deal that he did was because they were in competition for the cup, and they didn't want to lose him as a potential guy to be part of that team last year. Whereas, I think our point of view was pretty accurate in saying there was no way that they were winning the Stanley Cup with the defense that they had. So what they should have been more hard line with Nylander. And, Matthews, I think it was an okay deal. They paid him what I think most people thought he was going to get on an 8-year deal for a 5-year deal. But, that's neither here nor there. But with Marner, with the possibility of having 3 players over $10 million in it with a cap that's not going to go up probably for another 2 years, that's a problem. And he's a winger, and all these things, all these check marks. And, Dubas has to stay firm and make sure that he gets the best deal possible. And if there are any hurt feelings, those will be assuaged when he gets into camp and starts playing games.
Realistically, what is Camp Marner going to get at the 11th hour that they're not going to get now?
Well, I think right now, ideally, it's the term that they want. I mean, I've heard it reported from many. Marner wants a 4 or 5 year deal. 4 year deal is a non-starter because that walks him right to unrestricted free agency. That's not going to happen. A 5 year deal would be the same term as Matthews and Nylander, all of them turning UFA the same year. That's not ideal. So the Leafs right now want a deal of 3 years, 6 years, or 7 years. And 6 or 7 years may be too long for what Marner wants, because I think if it's 6 years, he turns a free agent the same year as Tavares. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's like if it's 6 years, he probably wants as much as Matthews does, or as Matthews got. That's why I keep falling back on it being a 3 year deal and us going through this again in 2022 or 2023.
Camp Marner's job is to do what's right, or what they believe is right for Mitch Marner. Get as much, do as much, screw the Leafs as much, put them in a position where, their feet are held to the fire, gun to the head, get what we need, and then, join the team and say, all right, let's go win a Stanley Cup. Wouldn't it be nice if there was a bit more, players were a bit more amenable to what the team needs overall to succeed, and teams were quick to compensate their players appropriately and accordingly based on what they've done and what they project them to do. And that's kumbaya, right? That's the perfect world. We're certainly not in that situation right now. And I just feel like the inevitable is inevitable with this camp that wants a lot of money and this team that's trying to make everything fit. Before we go hard or go flaccid. Okay. So many questions. Will the Leafs win the Cup before the Jays win another World Series? What is the reaction if Marner signs for more than Tavares? Will Nylander have cornrows for Game 1?
Okay.
Right? This pressing stuff. This is the big deal right here. This is the big news. The big deal.
If looking at seeing the Blue Jays and seeing, it was funny because at the game yesterday, they put up the projected rotation for 2020. And Matt Shoemaker was one of the top 4 starters. It's going to be a while before the Jays contend for a World Series. I love their offense. I love Biggio, Bichette, Guerrero. I think Danny Jansen's a better hitter than he's been right now. They've got a core group that you can build around, but the pitching, it takes a while to build up a pitching staff, so it's gonna be a while. I think the Leafs can win a cup in the next 3 or 4 years based on the moves that they make. I believe that if they do sign Marner, which they probably will pretty soon, that they're to re-sign some of the defensemen that they have on the roster this year, say Muzzin or Tyson Berry, they're going to have to move out a significant salary after this year. So if they do that and their defense plays well this year, you could see a Nylander or a Kapanen be moved out. These are the type of moves that, they will be debated in how successful or unsuccessful they'll be. So I think the Leafs have a better chance of winning a cup in the next 3 to 4 years, and the Blue Jays have a chance at winning the World Series. As for Nylander's cornrows, I could give a crap less.
He's just so fashionable, right? He's iconic. His 88, his look, the beard. It's part of the image, man. That's why so many people just love this guy. The interesting thing is nobody gave a shit about him before this madness with the team last year. And, God bless him. Bring him on. Let's see what happens. I mean, Nylander's going to start the season with the Maple Leafs. There's a chance that Marner doesn't. So, it's hard to be rooting for people who aren't on the team. And, as people who do want to see the Leafs win the Stanley Cup, got to say, if you're wearing blue and white, I wish you the best. I hope the best for you, and I hope you produce at the highest level, because that's what it's all about. I mean, there's nothing we can do for Martin Marincin, but the rest of them, I think there's hope for. Just a couple of shout outs before we go. Thank you so much to our Patreon subscribers and contributors. It means the world to us, as well as Jay Hepp, North Hollywood Timberwolf, and the guy who scribbles a bunch of Portuguese in our community section. I think what he's saying would be passable to repeat on this podcast. And then again, if we have any Portuguese translators out there, let us know what he's saying if it's good. If it's bad, just leave it. Buddy, have fun in Western New York. Come up to Canada anytime you want to immerse yourself in beautifulness, because, I mean, you make the place that much better. Thank you.
Thanks, Norm.